What's up, guys? Hope everybody had a nice weekend. I'm here with Roger, who just got the package. So we decided to jump on and kind of go through his strategy for his process here. So I'm going to turn things over to him, make him big here. Give me a moment.
Right. Well, good evening, everyone. And thank you for doing this again to talk of Captain America is kind of bright back there, but we're going to flip this down so we can see the comics here in a bit. But yeah, this is actually like a collaboration with you, my friend, because I'm going to give suggestions based on what I see here, and then we will agree upon a strategy and go from there. Of course, as you know from your last batch, sometimes you have to, you have to get off the interstate, go down on the local roads, and try to figure out the nitty gritty. But at least we'll have a framework for what we want to do for these comics.
Yeah, so, I'm very interested to get your thoughts on the book. So,
all right, well, let's take a look at it. We'll start with the Wonder Woman, the two Wonder Woman. I put like plural there, but yeah. So let me put this down and see if we can get it down to the point where you can see this well.
How you doing, Jens?
Hey, Jens. Let's see. I guess it's sort of in frame there.
Yeah.
It's all right. Okay. All right. So let's put it here in the middle. All right. So these are the two that obviously have a lot of waviness. I'm sure you can tell the notice the the kind of meandering wave there.
Mm-hmm.
And there is, from what I see here, it looks like little color loss, probably from either transfer, like it was next to another comic, or a bag or some a board, or it could have just been from the humidity itself that was on there for a while, if possible, but probably transfer. So that there's not much we can do about that there. But otherwise, it's just a lot of waviness from what I can see here. I mean, a lot of waviness. Pages are a little bit crisp, which is not uncommon when comics get this level of humidity. They feel a little bit like almost like leathery.
Yeah.
But that should not be a big deal once you humidify. Ooh, look at that. Wow. Love those full page arts here.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, gorgeous stuff. I can see why you want to have this in your collection. Yeah, okay. So Otaku, there's not a lot. I don't think a lot of controversy here. There's no mold. It's not really dirty. Let me give it the old rubbing here of the cotton bud, but I don't see anything here that. Yeah, there's nothing coming off. So this is straightforward, right? I'm going to write my plan here. This is Wonder Woman 83. And this is going to need a lot of humidity, so I'm going to leave this in the chamber overnight, or actually maybe like 16 hours, I'm going to say, just to get that humidity all the way through the comic, because you got waviness all the way through. I'll give it a clean too, of course, but there's really no big deal there.
Yeah. No anticipated issues. It's pretty straightforward, you think?
No, I mean, I'm looking at the staples here. I don't see any kind of oxidation.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't see any issues here. Very solid comic, other than the extreme waviness. So I'll give it a clean. I'll put it in the humidity chamber, and then I'm gonna give it a lower heat press. And then leave it in there for 12 hours. Then reverse it, do it again on the back cover, and then probably do a high heat press. And leave it, and overnight, 8 hours or so. And then at that point, it should look pretty much like a normal comic.
Okay.
Now, again, that's the plan. See over here how there's, I don't know if it comes out in the camera here, but there's a little like spotting here.
Yeah.
See there? Yeah. So that's definitely something transferred there. But really, the main art here is not bothered by that spotting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, nice comic. Yeah.
That book, those like ripples, they seem very entrenched in the book because I know you feel it now. You can feel the stiffness, right? Like it's and we talked about how to prevent reversion, and if this would seem like a book that might it would kind of reform into this waviness again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would put it, like I stated in that video, I would definitely not leave this out just flat somewhere. I'd put it, in a box, in a fairly, tight box, or put it at the bottom of a stack for a while.
Okay.
But the fact that I'm going to do a high heat press at the end there, it's sort of like, I mean, I don't know, I don't have a science for it, but it sort of like shocks the comic in a sense, right? And sort of hopefully changes that kind of memory that it has of this waviness.
Okay.
I found that to be somewhat effective on the older comics. I'm not sure about the Copper Age ones, but the theory or the hypothesis is the same. So, I would think that it would work. All right. So
sounds good.
We'll be hopeful, but I think one way or the other, I think that's going to look a whole lot better. I think it's going to be rinse and repeat for this one, but we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, these two came from the same lot, so I mean, I would imagine the issues are kind of similar.
Kind of similar, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it looks exactly the same to me. Notice right down here, a little bit of color loss right here on her boot. Let me hold on a second here. Right here.
Mm-hmm.
Right in this area here, this black shadow. But once again, there's really no mold to speak of. This back page is stuck here.
Uh-oh. Okay.
See that?
Yeah.
That tells you that this was under some heat as well as humidity.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm not going to peel that off too much because it might take out some of the art. So I'm going to, once I humidify it, that'll loosen up.
Okay.
Hey, Ron, how you doing? We're looking at these comics and seeing what kind of plan we have for them to make them a little bit nicer, a little bit more presentable. Yeah, I mean, so I'm gonna do the exact same thing I can do it for the other one.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't see any. I don't see anything here that would change my mind. There's a little discoloration up there. That might just be a little bleed through from the back. because they have this glue here.
I see.
Yeah, so that's what that might be. I don't think that's mold.
Okay.
No, I don't think that's mold. No. So I think we're good there. Let me bag this up and put it. I'll have the note there. Yeah, that back cover. Yeah, this was probably like this particular copy was probably like the bottom, so there was a lot of pressure on that bottom, the bottom cover, and it was probably so the humidity was coming in from maybe a little bit below too.
Yeah,
but again, not a big deal.
And this was likely in like a wet. You think so? Like, what was how did the books get in this condition? Was it just kept out like in a temperature fluctuating environment, or was it actually exposed to the water, you think?
No, I don't think it was exposed to water. I don't see the telltale signs of watermarks or tide marks or anything like that. My one possibility is that it was up like in an attic, and like where you live, there's a lot of humidity because there's a lot of rain, right? So it could have been up there, and then you have the very hot attic because you don't have the insulation, you don't have air conditioning up there, and over time that causes that kind of rippling in the paper. The fibers just start. It's sort of like you're humidifying it, but you're not pressing it.
Yeah.
So you're letting the fiber sort of free roam in there.
Yeah.
And so that could be what occurred. I've seen a few here in Florida, like we don't have attics, but we have crawl spaces. We do have attics. I mean, but you know what I mean. We don't. That's not generally something we do down here. And I've seen collections similar to this, like that. I found a few crawl space ones, and it's the same kind of situation. You get a lot of humidity, you get a lot of heat, obviously in the summer and except for winter, really, depending on what part of Florida. So yeah, I think that's what happened. It was in an attic or somewhere where it got a lot of humidity and a lot of heat.
All right, yeah, this one.
Yeah, beautiful and classic cover here. This is a giant, probably a 52-pager, I'm assuming. This one definitely did get wet, because if you look here, you can see the staining or the tide marks. So probably this, what happened here is that it got wet. Like it was only like the water was probably only on one side here a little bit, because I don't see any kind of intrusion into the rest of the comic. That's good. Because once it gets into the whole comic, then you're talking about some very intrusive kind of procedures. But you can see down here, you can see down there.
Yeah.
Okay. And then up here, you see tide marks too. So probably it kind of went in like here, like this way,
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. Let's give it the old cotton bud test. I don't think this is the dirty comic though. Man, this cover is so dynamic. Yeah, this is clean. The main thing here are the tide marks. It doesn't look like it went into the actual interior pages.
Nice.
Which is great. Staples don't look rusty. Let me take a better look at them here. That's a very clean staple. Yeah, those are not rusty staples. So,
wow. Yeah, I'm really hoping for this one.
Yeah, I'm talking about dodging a bullet. I mean, how that got water stained here and not intruded into that staple, I don't know. Right? But hey, sometimes, sometimes, you just walk down the street and cars crash and they go right around you, right? All right. So this one, I would suggest a aqueous bath. Hold on. This is Superman 242. 242 Soups. I would suggest
just the cover or the whole book.
No, just the cover.
Just the cover. Okay.
The interior, I don't see anything wrong with this interior at all. It's not even like there's like very little tanning even, honestly. Like a little bit up here, a little bit of a shadow, really, more than a tanning. Probably just from storage issues.
So Roger, Jens, who's in the chat, he is kind of starting out. He's gotten a press, and he's kind of in the process of pressing books and kind of getting a feel. And he's very comfortable now with, just kind of doing a standard press to just make it look flat and presentable. He's now starting to experiment with spine rolls and things like that. Can you just maybe walk us through how you approach it? And
sure. Spine rolls are no problems, generally speaking. Again, when I say that, there's always caveats, right? Because the spine could be raggedy. There could be brittleness issues. There's a multitude of things that could happen, right? But if we're talking your everyday average Bronze Age comic that was just read and then put in a stack, and it just curled up here because the pressure was this way and that rolled it that way, right? If you're talking about a comic like that generally speaking, those are not problems. Now, there are many ways to tackle spine rolls. Okay. But so what I do is I use 2 or 3 different methods depending on the spine roll itself. If it's a minor spine roll, okay, let me see if I have an example for you. Well, I don't have a good one here, but let's say it's a minor spine roll. So in other words, this is a fairly minor spine roll here. As you can see how you can see the side here, the pages, a lot more than over here, right? So this was sort of, Cappy wonk this here, but something like this, you can do what I call a massage spine roll treatment, and that you don't have to press the thing flat and then recrease it. Okay. What I would do with a spine roll like this is I would humidify it a lot, right? And then I would physically straighten this. So I would, once the book is supple, I would pull this down over here so that you're now straightening out the spine here. Okay. And then I use a backing board to, put pressure on it and continue to have that straight line or that new crease, right?
So you're kind of reshaping it with your fingers.
Yes, correct. You just sort of massage it over. All right. Now, again, that's if you have a very nice tight spine, you have it nice and humidified, so it's supple. All those factors have to be considered, right? But something this minor, the other way you could do it, if it's a major spine roll, I would press this whole thing flat, take out the staples, press this whole thing flat like that, right? So that now you have a nice base, right? And then you have to rehumidify it. Then I would hang it on a dowel and recrease it, and then once that crease is there, then you would press it front ways and back ways, and hopefully that would continue to have a nice square comic. But there's always risks with that, right? Because when you're pressing a comic flat, you're actually just smushing this spine flat, which it doesn't want to go, right? So there could be cracking and there could be flaking, things like that. So I only do that when, the situation, requires it. But something like minor like this, I would humidify it, I'd massage it, I would keep I would put pressure on the spine once you have it square so that it continues to have that, and immediately put that in the press. Low press, low heat, long time in the press.
Okay.
Yeah.
So low heat. Okay.
Yeah. Roger's turning into a werewolf. You talking about my legs? Yeah, I'm her suit. Yes, I am. All right, so let's look at this one again. Yeah, so it does have a little spine roll, like you said here. So I'm going to do that massage method. Once I'm going to do that first before I give this an aqueous bath. Okay, I'm going to do that first. I'm going to try to get this all aligned, right? And then I will take out the staples, give this an aqueous bath, put in a little bit of antibacterial soap. There is a little bit of dirt over here on this. There's a little curl here on the edges here.
Okay.
Yeah, a little rip right there. I can put a little bit of nori there. There's a little bit of a thing there. I mean, I'll clean it up. That's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, this is not too bad. Back cover, a little bit of something there. A little bit of something there. A little bit of tear there. Yeah, a little bit of something down here. Yeah, nothing major really. This is 10, conservation 101 on this one,
Nice.
So let's see, clean. And
is the color still good on that one, you think?
Yeah, I'm going to take a look at it here.
Okay.
I'm going to put massage spine. And then I'm going to do, I'll do a low heat 12-hour press. And we'll see how that goes. And then we'll reverse it and do another press on the back. And we'll see how long, but probably at least 8 hours. Okay.
Cool.
All right, let's take a look at the colors here. There are a lot of good 25. Oh, yes, there sure are. This era of DC is really good. Color Strike. Yeah, looks pretty good to me. I mean, when you consider these blues here, they're very vibrant. These yellows are purposefully a little muted, but look down here at the fire. Very, very well-defined colors there. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think you got a good one here as far as the color strike goes. Obviously, however this was stored, it wasn't exposed to a lot of light, because I don't see almost really none, or maybe very, very faint fading. Honestly, I can't find it, so I would say none. All right, so yeah, there are some obviously non-color breaking creases here. More like, I don't even have to call them creases exactly. They're more like indentations, I will say, just all over. Probably just from handling, improper storage, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that one didn't have any real creasing, so I just thought like this would be perfect, an ideal book to press and work on.
Yeah, I agree. It's not creasing really. It's just those little indentations, which a press is like perfect for that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
because that's exactly what it's for. It's like to get rid of those or minimize those kind of indentations or imperfections. So
is that a book like if you were to run into it in the wild, you'd be like, oh, this would be prime for
yeah,
pressing and cleaning? Okay.
yeah, absolutely. The water staining, I mean, is, again, generally speaking, not a problem. I mean, anytime and I say this to whoever's listening here, because it's you make these grandiose statements and then it's like, oh well, I messed up when I listened to you. Okay, well, whenever you wet a cover, or and forget about interior pages, that's even weaker, right? Whenever you wet a cover, there's always risk involved, right? Because for whatever reason, there are some covers that just do not respond to physics the way that others do. Okay, and some I've had covers which start to the color starts to flake off, and even though it's the same era, it's the same method I'm using, but sometimes they have slightly different ink transfers, or the press, or however it is that they actually um, bind it, or something is different. The printing process is different enough that it doesn't react to the same exact procedures as another one.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's a minority, of course, but it has happened to me. So again, every time you disassemble a comic and you give it an aqueous bath, there's always risk. Now in this case, I think it's fairly safe. Silver Age comics, especially DCs like this, are very hardy comics. Like that Green Lantern you gave me to work on last time, I thought that might give me a problem, but it was rock solid. So, all right, I'm off my soapbox. All right, so here we have a World's Finest 205. I've never seen this comic before, by the way, so thank you for sending this over. Gorgeous, gorgeous Neil Adams cover here. Absolutely gorgeous. Same back cover as the Superman. Similar era. They're both 25-cent, 52 pagers, I'm assuming. Let me see if I'm right about that. Hold on. Well, they're not numbered sequentially, unfortunately, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they are. All right. So you have over here, you have some kind of foreign substance.
Okay, so it is something on it versus a pull. That's what I couldn't really determine with.
It's raised.
Okay.
Yeah, it's raised. So that looks to me like maybe some glue is on there.
Ooh.
Yeah. Maybe. But lucky for you, I am the lighter fluid guru on this thing. So I will try to remove that.
Okay.
Let's see what else we got here.
Wow, that's great to know, because I was like, if that comes out clean, I mean, this is like really, it's gonna be a really nice looking book.
That's definitely raised. I mean, no doubt about it.
Okay.
That's not a pull, no doubt.
Okay.
It's raised. Now, whether that's already fused on there, that's another issue, right? But that's definitely raised. Yeah. Okay. All right. Doesn't look like there's any water intrusion here. Pretty square comic, as you can see here. Pretty lined up. A little bit of a dog ear here. No problem there. Pretty lined up. Maybe a little bit further over here than over there, but I can massage that. That is zero problem.
Nice.
There's something over here too. Doesn't show up under light, but I can definitely see something here.
Okay.
Not sure what that is. Hold on a second. Maybe that is just heavy ink.
Oh.
But it's sort of coming out a little bit. That's weird. But anyway, I'll take a look at that. A little bit of dirt here, but nothing major. A little bit of a tear there. It might be just like a printing defect kind of thing. Staples looking good. I think. Hold on.
How you doing, fanboy?
Hey, fanboy. How you doing?
He wants to know if you wear a magician's hat.
Oh yeah, of course.
Always.
I mean, I don't wear it on, on stream here because I don't want to seem too presumptuous. But yeah, sure. Yeah, those staples are rock solid. No problems there.
How you doing, Raph?
He's working his magic. Yeah, those staples are fine. Yeah, I'm not going to disassemble this comic for this, by the way. It's not worth the risk. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing. There's really not a big deal here. A little bit of dirt over here. Looks like somebody grabbed it with dirty fingers right there. See if you can see a little bit better with the light. Maybe right there. See fingerprints? See that right there?
Yeah.
That's fingerprints. Yep. We'll see what we can do about getting rid of that. By the way, if you see, I do not use gloves. I do not have oily hands or anything. And I'm one of those guys, I'm like old school. I like to touch the... And don't start with you guys in the chat with the salacious stuff, okay? But I like to touch the comic to feel if there's anything amiss like that there. All right.
Ron's definitely going to make a comment here.
Yeah, of course. Ron's my buddy. Yeah, there's a little bit of a corner crease here, kind of a reverse corner crease. In other words, it's not folded this way, it's folded inwards.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's no big deal pressing wise. All right, so let's look at a plan here. World's Finest, 205. I'm going to see about removing that artifact up here, whatever that is, glue, whatever. I'm going to try some... I have some methods in mind, okay? Then it's going to need a general cleaning. Might need to do... Yeah, now that I'm looking at it, over here, too, we got... There's some dirt or some kind of fingerprints there as well. Very faint, but it's there. Yeah. So whoever handled this was like, it could be, what it could be is that when they were reading this at new otaku, this black here, they could put their thumb like on this here, like that. Some of that black rubbed off, and when they flipped it over, boom, look where my thumb is, right on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
does fingerprint oil over time, what happens to that? It obviously collects some dirt, but does it eat into the book, or does it create does like petrify the oil? Does it like get hardened or something?
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, yes and no. I'm sorry, that was not a good answer. Sometimes sometimes I've noted, that it gets into the fiber. This is the cover, so we have a better chance of it coming out. But you're right. If you have a really oily fingerprint and you put it in there, then you might have to disassemble the book, give it a aqueous bath. You might even have to put some products in there. I'm not going to say which ones to get it out. But I really don't want to do this to this comic because it's so well centered, and that's fairly minor. I think I can reduce that regardless, even if I can't get it out totally. But yeah, that is a concern for sure. Yes, correct.
All right. Raph wants to know what's the oldest book you've worked on, and with that, how would something as old as like from the Golden Age be different from something from the Silver Age, even though it's like maybe a decade or 2 decades worth of difference? What the materials, how it might be different, the process.
Right. Hey Ken, how you doing, buddy? Comic crime scene investigator. Because of the fingerprints. That's a good one, Ken. That's a good one. I'll remember that one. The oldest comic I've worked on is really from 1940. So this was a DC, as I recall. It wasn't like a front. It wasn't more of like a funny animal one or whatever, that I was just trying to work on for the exact same reasons that comics from different eras have different properties, right? Now if you look at Jerry the Jitterbug, he's the master at this stuff, right? And I agree with him. The Golden Age comics are very, very hardy comics. They will take aqueous baths. They will take all kinds of fairly aggressive cleaning methods. The only problem is, once again, not all. There are many other factors than just the age of the comic to take into consideration, and that is, brittleness. That is how raggedy it is, or in other words, how many tears and how many rips and things like that. The calculation is dependent upon a lot of different factors that you have to take into consideration when you're working on a comic, and how far you want to take or aggressive you want to be in that comic. So that one that I worked in 1940 was quite somewhat brittle, but it was more that it was very raggedy. Obviously had been read hundreds of times or whatever. So all I did to that one was give it a cleaning, and I did repair the spine, and then I pressed it. I had to press that thing like 6 times to get it to flatten. It was just so. It looked, almost like a dome. It was like that,
Mm.
Yeah. So.
And you said it was brittle, though.
It was slightly brittle. Slightly brittle. Yeah. So when it's something like that, I humidify the heck out of it. Gotcha. Make sure that thing is just like not wet. You don't want a wet comic, but you want it so that it's very, very supple. Especially when it's that brittle. Now, some are so brittle that, again, I'm not saying my meager skills could not rescue it, right? There are some that are so brittle that you start moving it and it flakes apart. If it's like that, I don't touch it. I just leave it the way it is. But generally speaking, Golden Age comics are very hardy as long as they're not too brittle. Now you have to kind of be careful with Copper Age comics, because the ink will run on you sometimes when you give those an aqueous bath. You have to be careful. And if we're talking Charltons, those things are like bottom of the barrel cheap stuff. Like the ink, the paper, everything was just as cheap as they could make it. So those things will look. Here's an example here. Hold on. I had one here. Where is that? Here we go. Here we go. Look at this. This comic is from 1969. All right. Let me put this one aside here. All right. This is just a Blondie.
Ooh.
Number 182, Charlton. Okay, look at the color loss on this. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that just from like wrinkling or?
No, this comic here had some mold. Okay. And it had some water stains and the whole bit. So there was actually 4 comics like this. 3 were romance comics and this one. The 3 romance comics came out, no problem. Very little color loss. You know, no problem at all. This one, look, I mean, it's just everywhere. And the same exact procedure on all of them. Okay. The same exact products, the same exact measures, and look at there. So again, not every comic is created equal, right? Now this is not as a junk. It was a junk comic, right? So who cares, right? It's still, I can still read it and enjoy it, but that's it. It is what it is. But that's why I'm saying even under the best of circumstances, you have to take into consideration that could happen, right? So if it's an expensive comic, the least amount of work you can do, the better. Okay.
When in the process do you see that color loss? Is it as soon as you put it in, or is it like after you take it out? And
no, it's like, it's not as soon as you put it in, but for example, let me finish up the notes here for this one. The romance comics I soaked in that solution, which is partially bleach and partially hydrogen peroxide, for half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You leave it too much, you could have a problem. Okay. Heat press and 12-hour. Okay. So the first 3 came out great. So I'm like, hey, I'm not going to keep an eye on it or anything. I'll just put it in there, put it half an hour, go have lunch, come back. Right?
Gotcha.
That's what I did. And then when I took it out, I was like, what the heck happened here? So, but those are Charltons. That has never happened to me with any other comic. So,
yeah, I remember you mentioning the Charltons are ones that are always problematic because of they didn't use the better materials on it.
Yeah, listen, I mean, if you're a Charlton collector like I am, you're ever suffering. Because to find a Charlton in good shape is like, it's like finding a diamond in one of those, Arkansas mines, I mean, it's just... Hold on a second, let me get some water here. Ugh.
All right.
I'm talking too much. All right. Wet the whistle. Okay. Superman 207. And this is I
really am excited about this one. This is one, when I got it, I had always imagined, okay, with a good press, this should look fantastic.
I love the color strike on this. It's really
Right?
nice.
Yeah.
Spine is nice and square too.
Yeah.
Yeah, very. I mean, there's a little bit of a wrinkle kind of here in the spine. That's probably just when the glue was put in. Let's give it the old cotton bud test. A little bit of dirt, just a little bit. So, obviously, this is very wonky. You can see it's like, you can see it like it jumps back, you know? So it looks to me like when it was stored that the middle had more pressure than the ends. And
Ah,
so,
okay.
yeah, so it kind of created this kind of weird warp here. Not severe, but it's there, you know.
Yeah.
As you can see by the reflexing there. Yeah, this got humidity. It feels crinkly, and that might be mold up there, my friends.
Okay.
Very minor. Yeah, right there. Hold on. Hold on. Yep. No doubt about it. It's on both sides, right in there and right in there. Yeah, and got right there too. Fairly minor though. Fairly minor. Don't panic.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. That's just a little bleed through from that ad. Okay. I was wondering what that was there. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Look at the size of those staples.
Wow.
Look at those things. Dude. I mean, they did not skimp on the metal there, let me tell you. Whoa. Another Neil Adams here. You're on a Neil Adams kick, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have a decision to make here. I definitely do not want to disassemble this comic for a couple reasons. One is it's square bound.
Yeah.
And it's very square. I can disassemble it. I can put some solvents in there. But that is very risky. I think what I'm going to do is use a little bit of a solution that I have that I use on the covers. And I'm going to try to minimize this, or at least deactivate these colonies.
Yeah.
Because if it's coming off on this here, that means that they're still kind of active. I don't want to touch them, right? A little bit of a tear there, a little bit of a tear there, not a big deal. Once you press it, those will be pretty much, subsumed there. Okay. So Superman 207. It's very, except for a very minor dirt here. Very minor dirt. Really not much of a clean is going to be necessary, except for the mold areas. Okay. This is an 80-page giant. That is another little bit of a challenge because to get the heat all the way through is going to be not easy. Not impossible, just not easy. So I have to use a spacer so that you don't crush this spine here. Because notice how much that spine is off there. I mean, up on top, right? So, a good, 10 millimeters or so. Okay, spacer. And then I'm going to give this, let's see. I'm going to humidify this overnight. I really want to be careful with that spine. So not heavy pressure. And I think medium heat will do. At least we'll start with that. And then we'll leave it in the press for 12 hours. And then we'll flip it, do the same thing, and see where we are at that time. It might need another or higher heat press. But I don't want to. This is the challenge here at Otaku, right? I mean, because square bounds have glue here on the spine, under there.
Yeah.
Right. And as I was saying before, not all square bounds are born the same either. Some glues are very resistant to heat, and others will sort of, like melt a bit, and that will curl up that spine a bit. So I don't like to use high heat on these things for that reason. Or even leave them in the press very long, with the heat. So I'm going to be very careful. I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm going to be very careful with the way I press this. So it may need more presses under lower heat and lower pressure so that we can keep that spine square. Okay. So I have a preliminary 24 hours overall, but I'm probably going to have to expand that a bit. All right. But I do not want to. Another thing I could try is to dip it this way into an aqueous bath, just the bottom part, so that will capillary action will come into it like that, and that will help with the mold. But there's another problem with that, though, in that that will sometimes you'll leave a little bit of a kind of a shadow here.
Yeah.
And I think that mold is so minor that it's probably best to try to take care of it individually and minimize it, if not, deactivate those colonies. I've had pretty good success deactivating the colonies, at least. So,
okay.
So that would be my suggestion. I mean, if like anything else, we might have to pivot, but I really do not want to put this into an aqueous bath for so many different reasons.
Yeah.
All right, one more to go. Let me put this one in here.
Jens is asking what your take on Captain Mike's comic CPR.
I'm not familiar with that, gentlemen,
Okay.
I'm afraid. Yeah, I'm not familiar. I see Jerry. I see Archivist Adrift. I see Paul Sanderson. I see Dr. Paul. And I see Collecting Chaos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think I've seen Captain Mike's comic CPR either.
Those are my gurus. Those are my go-to guys when I have issues. I usually watch their videos or contact them. I don't know them, all very personally, but they usually do respond to me. All right, last one, and this one, Dave Stevens. I used to have this comic. And definitely here. Definitely there. We got some mold. Look at there. See how it goes through?
Yeah.
Yep. And up here looks like no. Okay, nothing up there. Okay. That corner. The corner's a little funky. That might be mold too.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And that staple, yeah. That staple there is oxidized, my friend. I think you can see it there.
Yep.
Yeah. The bottom one's okay. So this is one where I think we have to give it the old aqueous bath, my friends.
Okay.
Yeah, there's another mold colony right there. Yep, look at the wrinkling there.
Yeah.
So this was, somewhat similar to those Wonder Woman, except that these were probably there for longer, and under those conditions, they mold grew on them. Very, very wavy inside. Very stiff.
So are we doing the interior in a bath as well on this one?
No.
No.
I don't see. There are some. See you there?
Mm-hmm.
You see that there? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very minor. I don't think it requires, or I think it's too risky. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
To give the interior that kind of, because remember, you can't do the whole interior. You just can't throw the whole interior. You have to do page by page. So that's just too risky for a comic this thick. I mean, if it was really bad, we could do it. It would take a while, probably several weeks. But I don't think that this rises to that level. I will try to do it like I will do it with that Superman. Try to see what I can do there, to minimize or deactivate that colony there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where it's that colony there is the one that's spread down into the pages right there. Yeah, that one there. Yeah.
We're making some jokes here about deporting the migratory mold.
Yeah, boy, can I? Oh boy. All right. So the Rocketeer. Well, I mean, as far as the hold on, let me give this the old. As far as the waviness, that's not a big deal. Yeah, there's no dirt on this thing. It's clean.
The color on that is really nice. The front part.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the interior is nice as well. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really not, but I think it's worth the risk to disassemble this comic. I'm gonna have to take off the top staple anyway.
Okay.
And get rid of this mold from the cover, because that colony there, right there, that one there, yeah, there's no way I can clean that without soaking it. There's just no way to get that one out.
Okay.
So I think it's worth the risk.
And the worry here is the bath might impact the color of, because the color right there is really vibrant.
Yeah, it's very vibrant.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you what I'm going to do. Hold on a second here. I'm going to try to put in a very light solution and see how that works. If I see any kind of issues with the color, I will extract it. I'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The problem, the thing I'm worried about is these blacks.
Yeah.
And this is a copper age comic, right?
Yeah.
So
fingers crossed.
Yeah. So, I mean, are you feeling lucky? I mean,
you know what? I'm willing to take the risk. Again, I think hopefully it comes out, without too much, like it just comes out looking preserved, but if it doesn't, it's fine.
Well, I just think, Otaku, that you really can't have this comic with that much mold on it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not healthy, and it's eventually going to migrate throughout this comic. And I mean, you can quarantine it, right? Like put it in a bag and stick it in, somewhere, but you want to enjoy the comic, right? So
yeah.
All right, so let's see what we can do here. So definitely that top staple has got to go, or it's got to go, or maybe I can rehabilitate it. I will put it in. I have a vinegar and baking soda solution.
Okay.
That works pretty well, generally speaking. All right. So top staple, I'll put remediation here. And then definitely a I'll say mold soak, for lack of a better term, because I have solutions, and I'll put it at mild. And then I will try to clean up a little bit of the interior. With that same solution. And as far as the pressing goes, it's a fairly thick comic.
Yeah, it's pretty thick. It's as thick as that 80 pager,
I don't think it's quite that thick, but let me see.
Okay.
Oh, maybe you're right. Hold on.
Right.
No, it's not as thick. No.
It's not as thick. Okay.
Probably 48 pages, I'd say. 52, somewhere in there. Yeah, somewhere in there. So this one here, so I already talked about the cleaning, and as far as the pressing, it's pretty wrinkly. So definitely I'm going to humidify this. Probably 12 hours. And then we're talking about medium heat press. This is after assembly and everything, of course. And then another 12 hours in the press, cold press, of course. And then probably, rinse and repeat on the back. Yeah, I mean, I think, worst case scenario, we're going to have a little bit of fading on the blacks. And that'll be about the worst of it.
Okay. And that's not a certainty. It's
no.
Yeah.
No, listen, there's no, this is not an exact science, my friend. Trust me. I mean, I told you, I've been surprised so many times. I mean, sometimes I'm thinking, wow, this thing is going to be a mess and it comes out great. And other times it's a piece of cake and I'm like, scrambling like that Lois Lane that you sent me, man. That thing, everything I did on it, it just fought me tooth and nail, but that's it. I can't find rhyme or reason for these things, honestly. It's like every comic has its own little personality, so to speak, and some of them are just feisty, and others are more, demure. I mean, I don't get it, but that's just the case. Here, you can,
Roger, if you run into that Rocketeer book in the wild, is that something you would target, or would you just, like, if you saw the mold, you just be like, nah, let's not pick this one up?
Probably I would not pick this one up. Yeah.
Okay.
Just because, it's not that I mind remediating the mold or anything like that. It's just that what a Copper Age comic with blacks like this, it's a crapshoot. It just is. Yeah. So, I mean, if it was like a dollar bin thing, I might take a chance on it. Take a flyer, as they say. But I don't like ruining comics. Let me put it that way. I just don't.
Okay.
It doesn't. I may be silly, but I really just do not like when something doesn't, and I ruin a comic. Something goes wrong. I just don't like it. I don't know what else to say. My soul just, is like,
right. Yeah.
So I try to do is do like the minimum amount to make it look more presentable. That's my goal for my comics. But, when it comes to yours, your input is key here, because how far I can take it is dependent on, your permissions, right?
Oh, no, I want you to, again, the trust is fully in you. And I want you to be the judge of what you think is safe versus, you take the risk, like, in terms of managing that. Like, if you think it's not worth it, then don't push it. But if you think, yeah, this could work, feel free.
Yeah, Ron is right. A mild bleach solution is what I use. It's more than just bleach, but bleach helps, but you need something sometimes a little bit more. You need a little more active ingredients, so to speak. I'm not a chemist, right? But so I put a little bit of hydrogen peroxide. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of baking soda in there too, and sort of heat that up, to swirl it up and then let it, if it's too hot, you definitely don't want to put a comic in there, right? You want it just kind of tepid, enough so the water kind of, gets into the fibers a bit, but not so much that it will do any damage to the colors or anything like that. So it's a delicate balance of solution, heat, and whatever the other water, of course. I use distilled water, and that way you don't get any other foreign substances in there, minerals or whatever. But again, it's there's no guarantees. but I think it's worth it for the Rocketeer only because it's already moldy. So it's sort of like it's the old adage, right? If somebody's dying there on an operating table and say, well, that's a risky operation, well, the alternative is going to die anyway. So at least it's high risk, but at least you have a chance, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a bad analogy. I apologize to anybody out there who has to go through surgery or whatever, but I don't mean any disrespect, but that's the closest thing I can think of, but I think it will work. Just to what level, I don't know exactly, but we'll find out in about a week.
Yeah, stay tuned, guys.
We will find out.
All the books, which ones do you think are obviously the Rocketeer is one that concerns you as well as the 80 page?
The Rocketeer is the highest concern. The 80 page, the only concern I have there is the not so much the mold as it is to keep the spine square. Sometimes that can be a little bit of a challenge because, again, you just don't know if they used certain kind of glue and it runs under the heat and it sags, then you have kind of a more rounded spine. But I try to do it with the spacer and the lower heat, less pressure. Sometimes you just have to do it more often, but at some point you have to put pressure on there to get it flatter. So but I'm fairly confident in that, the methods that I've used in the past. But the Rocketeer we're kind of going into virgin territory in a sense. So it should work to a certain degree, but I'd like to say, I'm all confident. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be fine. This thing's going to come back. It's going to be better than new. I'd love to say that, but I try to keep it real.
No, I think again, whatever happens, and let's just take the risk. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to take pictures of everything before I usually do. I mean, I always do because that gives me, the foundation, right? So I'll take pictures of everything before I start working on it.
Cool.
And then I'll take the after pictures. I might put like one on Instagram, like maybe one of the Wonder Women, so you can see how that one worked out. That's low risk right there. Or next to no risk, really, not even low risk. But the others I'll probably make a video, but I won't publish it until you receive it and we go through it and all that.
Yes.
All right. Just like we did. Yeah.
This is going to be very, very. I'm like on pins and needles right now, anticipating.
You're not the only one.
The results.
Yeah. I'm going to feel like I'm going to sit on a porcupine when that Rocketeer goes in the bath, but I'll do my best.
Thank you so much, Roger. All right. Any more questions for Roger, guys? It looks like Ron's out. Jens, I know you've been kind of listening in the background. Let us know if you have any questions for Roger. I know you mentioned to me that you wanted to pick his brain about stuff like spine rolls and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, I would suggest that you see those other channels as well. Jerry the Jitterbug, Collecting Chaos, especially. They do a lot of those spine rolls, things like that. Jerry does all kinds of things, including leaf casting and all that, which I don't do. what my suggestion to you, Jens, if you're watching this, is have a couple of comics that you don't really care about, or that are, maybe that's the wrong way of putting it. Comics that are not high value that you can get from dollar bins or whatever, right? That have spine rolls, seek them out and trial and error, honestly, that's why I've a lot, even though I've seen these videos and the theories behind it, there's nothing like experiential process, that you go through it yourself, because there are so many little nuances that it's almost impossible to explain every little detail. And I'm sure that you will figure it out, after, a few comics, how far you can take something, how much pressure, how much heat, how much humidity, all these things are very tough to explain, in a situation like this. You just have to go through it and do it yourself, and just, put less heat, put less pressure, put more humidity, etc., etc. I think he explained the final. We'll have to try some on G-Broke. Yep. Okay, that's exactly what I said. Okay, beautiful. That's exactly what I would do, Jens. Exactly what I would do. And that's how I've learned, like that Charlton that I showed you. I mean, I've learned there. I learned that, that you have to keep an eye on those things. Even though 10 of them may be fine, that 11th may be the, black sheep, so to speak.
Is there a premium for like really high grade Charltons?
Certain ones, yes.
Certain ones, yes. Okay.
Like I know that there are like the first Captain Atom. There is like the first Question, Blue Beetle.
Oh yeah.
And I think some of the rare romance comics as well, and some science fiction comics.
Okay.
Man, Charlton's been around since the 40s.
Right. Yeah.
So, they have a lot of older comics with some characters in it. The ones I have worked on have generally been from the 60s and 70s. But yeah, there are some high dollar Charltons. Again, I'm not sure if those are hardier. I would think they are. But again, I don't have any to give you an opinion one way or the other.
All right. Well, Roger, again, thank you for going through your process here, your thought process on the books.
Sure.
And yeah, just going to be looking forward to hearing back from you soon, and we'll go over the books when they're finished.
Yeah, probably going to be a couple weeks or so.
Okay.
Before I'm finished with all of them. I'll keep you updated, as I usually do.
Yeah.
And if I have any, really pertinent questions for you,
okay,
I will say, hey, this is not exactly the way I thought it would work. So what do we do here? But generally speaking, if I don't contact you, then everything's going fairly smoothly.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks for joining, guys. Stay tuned. We'll have some results for you soon.
Yep, and check my Instagram here in about a week, and you'll probably get at least a little bit of a idea of how things are progressing. My mood will come through on the Instagram at that point.
Wonderful. All right. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
All right. Good night, all.